Acting is one hell of a tough career, and certainly not for the faint of heart, given that Hollywood is a cruelly judgmental and superficial industry where talent can only take you so far, and everything can quickly change on the turn of a dime. It's often the most fickle of things which makes the difference between an actor's success and failure, and sometimes all it takes is one genius tweak to transform an actor from down and out to so damn cool it hurts. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with brilliant tweaks that suddenly made actors cool AF. Keanu Reeves got long hair and a beard. Though it might seem like a distant memory these days, a decade ago Keanu Reeves' Hollywood career was in pretty rough shape, with 2013's big-budget flop 47 Ronin seemingly bringing his blockbuster days to an end. But the very next year, John Wick, of course, surpassed any and all expectations by reinventing Reeves as a middle-aged action hero, in a movie which launched a now 5-movie franchise. While you can give a lot of the credit to the smart script and tight filmmaking, there's also one tweak to Reeves' appearance which restored a sense of cool he'd been lacking for forever, giving him longer hair and a beard. Up until John Wick, Reeves was clean-shaven in the overwhelming majority of his films, though ironically not 47 Ronin. This certainly served him well enough as a younger man, but as he approached his 50s, the shaggier, coarser look was just inherently better for portraying a grizzled, aging hitman. This, combined with the sheer quality of the movie itself, made Keanu Reeves cool once again. Samuel L. Jackson claimed ownership of the word mother effer. Well, you know that's not technically the word, but you don't want us getting demonetized now, do you? Though it seems like Samuel L. Jackson was basically born cool, that's not quite the case. In reality, his career breakthrough didn't come until 1994, when he played Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction, and gave a performance so persuasive that he basically claimed ownership of a single word. And of course, we all know what that word is. Jackson's spirited utterances of the word immediately cemented him as one of the coolest actors of the 1990s, a man who made an art form out of dropping a single piece of profanity. According to Jackson, he used the word as a young man to help overcome a debilitating stutter, and by the time he reached the age of 45, he managed to make the most of it in Tarantino's movie. And ever since, it's been tough not to associate it with Jackson, who has memorably recalled the epithet in a number of films, most notably Snakes on a Plane and Avengers Infinity War. While it would be disingenuous to deny Jackson's sheer gravitas as an actor, this word made an undeniable contribution to both the direction of his career and his public image as a whole. Drew Barrymore literally killed off her wild child persona. Drew Barrymore, of course, came to prominence thanks to her delightful performance as Gertie in E.T., yet as is often the case with child actors, she struggled to transition into an adult performer audiences could take seriously. The predictable glut of wild child parts she played in the early 1990s were largely met with a shrug from critics and audiences. But everything changed in 1996, when Barrymore took on a role in Wes Craven's meta-horror film Scream. Though initially signed to play lead Sidney Prescott, scheduling conflicts eventually caused her to take the smaller part of Casey Becker, the movie's opening victim. Given that Scream nevertheless marketed Barrymore as the protagonist, being its most famous cast member and all, her demise roughly 10 minutes into the film was a massive shock and assured audiences that all bets were off for the remainder. Quite suddenly, Drew Barrymore's name was on everybody's lips again. She'd left the chintzy B-movies behind her, had the humility to let herself die a horribly unglamorous on-screen death, and at age 20 was once again embraced by both Hollywood and the general public. Mark Hamill realised his voice is his best asset. It isn't easy for actors to appreciate that their best work might not be in front of the camera in a live-action project, but sat in a recording booth running lines for animation and video games. But Mark Hamill evidently had the poverty of ego to appreciate that, when he struggled to win quality roles following the end of the original Star Wars trilogy, his talents might be better spent elsewhere. From the mid-1980s onwards, Hamill worked as a voice actor on a great number of projects, and most famously portrayed the Joker across both animated animated fare and video games for almost 30 years before retiring from the part. Hamill unequivocally found his place in the industry as a peerless, ever-in-demand vocal performer and created a Joker absolutely on par with the most feted live-action renditions. But Hamill also got to put his grizzled vocal chops to good use in a late career return to live action by both playing a grizzled Luke Skywalker in Star Wars The Last Jedi and giving a sublime performance as terrifying lawyer Arthur Pym in Netflix's The Fall of the House of Usher. Amy Adams became a redhead and made her entire career. In the early 2000s, the strawberry blonde Adams was very much a jobbing actress best known for her performance in Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. But in 2004, she won a role in the short-lived medical drama series Dr. Vegas, which required her to dye her hair in order to stand out from also blonde co-star Sarah Lancaster. And though Adams was dismissed from Dr. Vegas after shooting just 5 episodes, she kept her red hair, which she believes helped her book the lead role in Junebug the next year, which netted her her very first Oscar nomination. Following this, Adams' career truly took flight, starring in a bevy of comedies and dramas alike in the years that followed, in turn establishing herself as one of the most versatile actors of her generation. Nicolas Cage cleared his debts and got selective with roles again. Nicolas Cage is about as singular as actors get, but the man's career hit a serious roadblock in 2009 when the IRS pursued him for unpaid federal taxes, forcing him to basically take every paying role offered his way. For the near decade that followed, Cage gradually drifted out of the theatrical movie business altogether and instead found himself appearing in quick and easy direct-to-DVD films, seemingly in an attempt to clear his sizable debts. Despite Cage's steadfast refusal to phone it in, these movies were largely panned and made the actor something of a laughingstock in the industry, a textbook example of a bona fide A-lister falling from grace. But as Cage's debts fizzled away by the end of the 2010s, he once again sought to book parts in more interesting and mainstream movies. The Nick Cage renaissance is in full swing, and an actor who was sneered at with derision by so many for so long is now once again celebrated as the veritable king that he absolutely is. Jennifer Lawrence fired her management team. It's not unfair to say that Jennifer Lawrence found herself in a bit of a post-Oscar slump after winning Best Actress for her performance in Silver Linings Playbook in 2013. With the Hunger Games franchise soundly wrapping up, her inability to disguise her disinterest in her role as Mystique in the X-Men franchise, and numerous films underperforming critically and/or commercially, it's been something of an uneven decade for the talented actress. However, following the release of X-Men flop Dark Phoenix in 2019, she took a 2-year hiatus from acting altogether, feeling that audiences had grown sick of her continual presence on the Hollywood calendar. Yet Lawrence's smartest decision was likely parting ways with agency CAA the year prior, who she felt kept nudging her into dubious high-profile projects while steering her away from more artistically fulfilling smaller movies. Lawrence then returned with a three-peat of quality projects which reminded audiences why they found her so appealing in the first place. Those were Netflix comedy Don't Look Up, Oscar-nominated drama Causeway, and the hit comedy No Hard Feelings. The latter in particular was proof perfect that Lawrence is a natural-born comedian, and that she should focus on what she wants to make, rather than pursuing the glossy yet unremarkable prestige projects agents want her to. Kristen Stewart went indie after Twilight. Despite having a number of acclaimed roles to her name before joining the Twilight franchise, Kristen Stewart had to work incredibly hard to shake the perception that she was a one-note actress with little else to offer. But Stewart did the smartest thing imaginable. Immediately after wrapping up her obligations to Twilight, she largely turned her back on big-budget Hollywood fare, doubling down on smaller, more artistically minded independent films. In the years that followed, Stewart received acclaim for her performances in roles such as Camp X-Ray, Still Alice, Personal Shopper, and most recently Spencer, which earned her an Oscar nomination. Stewart has shunned blockbuster cinema almost entirely since departing Twilight in 2012, and in turn has built up an enviable body of work, which has absolutely made her one of the most intriguing and daring actors of her entire generation. Robert Downey Jr. embraced his motor mouth persona. Few actors have enjoyed as stratospheric a career turnaround as Robert Downey Jr., whose early career success was stopped in its tracks by a period of substance abuse and legal troubles in the mid-1990s through to the early 2000s. After hitting rock bottom, Downey began to crawl his way back by embracing the very trait that's now most associated with him, running his damn mouth and never stopping. It really began in earnest when Downey starred in 2005's neo-noir comedy Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, penned by Hollywood's go-to writer for snappy, pithy dialogue, Shane Blake. Of course, this was then soon followed by the role of Tony Stark in Iron Man. Now, given that much of the original Iron Man was improvised due to shooting without a finished script, Downey deserves much of the credit for not only popularizing Tony Stark as a quick wit, but solidifying what would become the Marvel Cinematic Universe's house style of comedy. Barbed quips fired off rat-a-tat. Iron Man cemented the actor's career resurrection and made him the face of the MCU for over a decade, while even his few subsequent roles outside of the superhero franchise, such as most recently in Oppenheimer, have similarly banked on his penchant for fast talking. Jennifer Aniston's Rachel haircut made her a style icon. It's not exactly a secret that Friends launched the careers of its 6 lead actors, but in the case of Jennifer Aniston, she made one particular tweak to her appearance which transformed her from a well-liked actress and sex symbol into an outright style icon. In the first season's 20th episode, the one with the evil orthodontist, Aniston debuted what would be called the Rachel, her iconic layered shoulder-length haircut as designed by Aniston's hairstylist Chris McMillan. Almost immediately after the episode aired, the haircut became a major talking point in general culture, with the Rachel becoming the most popular and requested female haircut for the entire decade that followed. Close to 3 decades later, the Rachel remains one of the world's most famous do's, and one that's enjoyed countless revivals over the years. Without it, Aniston simply wouldn't be nearly as influential a public figure as she undeniably is, literally shaping how tens of millions of women wore their hair overnight. Ironically though, Aniston herself isn't much of a fan of the Rachel due to its difficulty to maintain without the assistance of a stylist like McMillan, of course.